YouTube. It has been quite some time since I've made a video, and to be honest, that wasn't my intention, but it just happened that way with how I was feeling after finding out that we were pregnant. Um, I mean, this is going back over a year now of, our IUI and just, our story basically. So I do have some things noted that I meant to share a long time ago and just never got around to it because I was very sick. The first basically half of my pregnancy, I was very sick to the point where I couldn't do the most mundane of tasks. It just seemed like the simplest things seemed like a huge hurdle for me. So this was really last on my list, but I do have a lot of things noted down from when I was going through this that I just wanted to share in case you're going through the same thing, or if you have to do an IUI, or if you've just done one. I want to be able to help out as much as I can for anybody else that's going through something like this. So to give a quick backstory, we have a 3-year-old, and we started trying for our second when she was around 2, and I was not ovulating at all. I think in the year 2020, I got my period once, so I knew that ovulation was my issue. So I took it upon myself and did a ton of research, and I put myself on like Vitex and some other over-the-counter things that are supposed to support ovulation, and those didn't work. I'm pretty sure that probably messed me up more than I think it did more harm than good. So I went to a new OB because we had moved, and basically she kind of dismissed me and just said, if you're not pregnant in a couple months, come back and we'll do some tests and whatever. And I was like, yeah, but I completely know my issue is I'm not ovulating. If I could just, if we could run the test now and figure out why I'm not ovulating, like that would be great. But she kind of just kept dismissing me and said, don't worry, you just take prenatal vitamins. And if you're not pregnant in a couple months, just give me a call and we'll figure it out. So I took it upon myself to go and call the fertility clinic. And I explained, we've only been trying for a couple months, but it's really hard to try when you're not ovulating. It's impossible to get pregnant. So we really never even had a chance to try. So I went to the fertility clinic. They were great. I had a wonderful experience at mine. And I still think about my nurse all the time. And I'm like, I wish I could just call her just to talk to her because I loved her. Patrice, if you're watching this, I love you. But anyway, I do have some things I wanted to just talk about as far as symptoms or things that I felt after, initially right after the IUI. I don't think any of this really means anything, but some symptoms, I don't even know if they're called symptoms, some things that happened to me after the IUI for the first 48 hours after. And we did a back-to-back IUI, so on Saturday and a Sunday. The bloating. I was so bloated for the first 2 days after the IUI where I didn't want to wear jeans. I never really want to wear jeans, but I couldn't wear jeans. I was just very, very bloated and irritable. So I kind of felt like I was getting my period, those same symptoms that you get right before your period are symptoms that I felt in the 2-week wait. So I also had some slight spotting initially after the IUI, and this tapered off about 3 days after. It completely stopped. And it was never more than just spotting. It was just, I'm pretty sure from the procedure, there's a lot of things going on in that region. And I think I was a little bit irritated. And I think that's where the spotting was coming from. I also was pretty fatigued, and I also had a headache. So those are all symptoms that I usually feel leading up to my period. And they all tapered off within 3 to 4 days. After the 3 to 4 day mark, I really felt completely normal, except for, just mentally knowing that I was in the 2-week wait and just wanting to test. But yeah, and I did test. I tested a lot. But that was really that. I didn't feel too much leading up to like taking the pregnancy test or anything. Obviously we found out that we were pregnant like very, very early because I was testing the Avidril, the HCG shot out of my system. And then, you know, the line was getting darker instead of lighter. So that's, you know, I knew probably like the day that like the earliest day possible that you could find out you were pregnant, I found out. My pregnancy was, I don't want to say smooth sailing, up until like, I felt great until 6 weeks. So I really didn't have much time of feeling great. The day I hit 6 weeks, I was vomiting. I was nauseous all the time. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't keep water down. I don't even know how I like survived those weeks because at the time we had our daughter was 2.5 and she was a typical 2.5-year-old, and trying to be a parent when you are constantly throwing up, not even just, I wasn't just nauseous, it was vomiting every day, all day, basically. And just doing the most, like I said earlier, like doing the most mundane of tasks, like putting a load of laundry in the washer, was like a huge obstacle for me. Like cooking was extremely hard. I mean, smells hit me. I had food aversions. I had basically like every symptom. And this lasted until about 18 weeks, is when I stopped like throwing up every day. So yeah, there was a couple times where I was like, should I go to the hospital? Because I think I'm dehydrated, probably. But I just, you know, I just didn't. I just pushed through, which I don't suggest doing. But yeah, once I hit 18 weeks, it did start to taper off. I didn't feel good, but I wasn't throwing up. And that a day that I had where I didn't throw up was like, I would say to Kyle, like, I didn't throw up today. This is a good day. So yeah, I was not feeling well at all. And I know a lot of people say that, but like, oh, it was so bad. Like it was so bad. So anyway, 18 weeks, I felt good. I went in for the 20-week ultrasound, excited, like not nervous at all. And I went to the ultrasound place that they had was like not at their office. I had to go like 40 minutes away. And I loved the ultrasound techs. They were all amazing. Obviously they can't tell you much, but like, I remember at my 20-week one, she was like, everything looks good. Like he's good. And I was like, great. So yeah, that was it. She told me that the doctor was going to call and he never did. So I just assumed that him not calling meant like everything was great and there's no need to call me. So that was it. And then the next week I went in for my regular like OB like visit, and it was a different doctor. Like they work together, but like they're not at all in the same office. So my doctor that like delivered my son, he's like, okay, yeah, so did they go over the single umbilical artery with you? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like it's noted here that like they detected a single umbilical artery, which just means like the umbilical cord, instead of having two arteries and one vein, mine had one artery and one vein. And I was like, no, like nobody told me that. I had no idea. Like I did not get a call from the doctor telling me that. Yeah, like, you know, when it was like a shock because I had no idea. And he genuinely thought like they talked to me about this. And I was like, no, no one has mentioned that. So that was hard, I guess. I obviously started Googling things, and he told me too, like the main thing is like possible growth restriction, because obviously the umbilical cord carries the nutrients and the blood flow and oxygen and all that stuff from the placenta to the baby, and with only one artery, it restricts that. So the possibility of him having growth restriction was high. So my doctor said, yeah, we're going to want you to come in for extra monitoring and extra ultrasounds. And then once you hit 35 weeks, we'll have you come in once a week for NST tests, non-stress tests. So it was a lot. That appointment was hard because, you know, I'm just a person that like, I Google everything, probably more than I should. And, the very rare chance that, this could really potentially restrict his growth. So, there was nothing that I could do. And I actually ended up calling the doctor that did that, like, looked at the ultrasound results, that never called me. And he called me back and was super apologetic. And, like, I guess, I don't even know what his excuse was, but he was very apologetic and, said, oh, we see this all the time. It's really no big deal. Like, there's nothing to worry about. We see it a lot. And I'm like, okay, but, like, you still should have told me. I don't know. Like, it was just a very, rubbed me the wrong way. So I kind of was okay with that. And I was like, there's nothing we can do. I could tell that he was growing, my belly was getting big. And, like, I felt in my heart and my gut that, like, he was okay. But I liked that I was going to have, extra monitoring as my pregnancy progressed. And the doctor did tell me that if I wanted to come in for extra ultrasounds to make myself feel better, that I could. But I ended up not doing that because it wasn't covered by insurance. And I just felt like, things were okay. If I felt like things weren't, then I was definitely going to go get extra ultrasounds. So from the 20 week to, like, 35 week, I felt awful, but, like, not to the point where, like, again, I wasn't throwing up. I just had the typical pregnancy symptoms and I just didn't feel good. I felt very, like, ugh. And we were also, like, moving. We closed on this house last year. I'm very sorry for the wall in the background because the previous owners of this house, they were in their 90s and they had very, you could see some of the floral wallpaper back there, which is, like, extremely hard to get down. We've tried a couple times and it's just not working out. So that's another update that happened while I was in the thick of pregnancy, is buying this house, which was stressful. Buying a house, stressful. It was just a very stressful time. I say stressful a lot, but that is really just the only word that comes to mind when I think about the home buying process. It was a lot, and I feel like I'm still not recovered from it, and it's been a year that we've been in here, and we have so much work to still do. Obviously being in the thick of COVID and this pandemic, buying a house is, I'm sure, as everybody knows, a really difficult thing. And, yeah. Anyway, went for the NST tests and everything was always fine. The baby was fine, which is great. I went in for my last ultrasound at 37 weeks and I get a call that, they didn't see the umbilical artery thing. They said that the umbilical cord was fine. And I was like, so you're telling me that I just went the last 17, 18 weeks of my pregnancy thinking that my baby was growth restricted and the potential of that, of him being delivered early, of low birth weight. Now that's it just, like, disappeared. Like, I don't want to get riled up, but, like, I was very worked up over this and not thrilled that, like, who messed up? Like, I just feel like somebody somewhere messed up and, like, no one cared. So it was fine. I ended up not even having that. So, yeah, like, when he was born, they checked and his umbilical cord was fine. So I was just like, great. It just caused unnecessary worry and panic. And, I just let it go because I was like, as long as my baby's healthy, I don't care. But, like, somebody messed up, So that was not fun at all. But Mason was born July 30th of 2021. So he is 8 months old and here he is. He's a beautiful baby. He is perfect in every single way. And he just brings me such joy. I can't even tell you. He is a good baby. He doesn't sleep that much, but, like, he is just, I love him so much. So, that was really my pregnancy in a nutshell. Nothing crazy happened, but my birth was pretty standard. My water broke. He was 1 day late and I was basically, like, having contractions in the hallway of the hospital because they didn't have a room ready. So that was not fun. But, once you have the baby, it's like, you don't even care, like, what happened. Like, it's all good. So he was fine. Everything, birth-wise was great. I recovered really easily. And, yeah. But so yeah, basically some just updates that had happened in the past years. We bought this house. We adopted a puppy named Rosie. She is a Great Dane and a Poodle mix, and she is a lot of work. We actually adopted her. I was like 7 months pregnant, so we were like those crazy people that adopted a dog 2 months before we're about to bring home a newborn. But it just kind of fell into our lap, and we couldn't say no. So here's Rosie as a puppy, and then here's Rosie as a dog. I guess she's not a dog yet. I think she's still a puppy, but you know, by looking at her, you would be like, you're a full-grown adult dog, which she's not. She's very much still a puppy. We enrolled our daughter in preschool, so she goes part-time. She's there right now, and she's been doing great there. I'm really happy with the school. And another thing that just as a big update is the same day that her first day of preschool, Hurricane Ida came and really wreaked havoc on the East Coast. So we're still dealing with some of that. Our basement had 18 inches of water. So we've just been in the process of redoing our basement and trying to get this house a home. You know, it's a lot of work when you buy it's not a fixer-upper, but it's just a house that needs a lot of TLC. And I don't really have the time to dedicate to giving it TLC. So it's a work in progress. You know, we have a 30-year mortgage. We're going to be here for a couple years at least. Like, we have time to fix it up. So that is really my updates in a nutshell. I don't know, like, what I'm going to be doing moving forward as far as, like, videos go. When I first wanted to make videos, it was all about infertility. And I still am very like invested, and I just, you know, when you're going through infertility, even after you have your baby, it's like you never forget your roots, you know. Like, I still, like, everything that I felt then, I still feel, even if that sounds crazy. So I really do like love answering any like questions you guys have or anything really. I am an open book. And yeah, I would love to help out as many people as I can. So if you guys have any questions or suggestions, please leave them below. I would love to